The stars flickered against the vast canvas of space as Grand Admiral John Miller stood at the observation deck of Earth's Central Command. For years had passed since the Galactic Liberation War, yet the scars carved into his weathered face remained as fresh as the memories that haunted his dreams. The year was 2164, and humanity had achieved what once seemed impossible: establishing the Galactic Free Alliance, a coalition of worlds united under the banner of freedom. Miller's reflections stared back at him from the reinforced glass, a man transformed by war, yet unbroken by its horrors. Behind him, the blue marble of Earth spun slowly, a beacon of hope in a galaxy that had known too much darkness. The peace they had fought so hard to achieve felt fragile, like morning dew on a spider's web, beautiful yet ephemeral. "Admiral, we're receiving a priority transmission from Horizon 2, came the crisp voice of Lieutenant Sarah Chun from the communications console. Her words sliced through the contemplative silence like a blade. Miller turned, his military bearings still sharp despite the years of relative peace. Horizon 2, the massive space station that served as humanity's watchtower at the edge of known space, rarely sent priority transmissions. When they did, it meant trouble. "Put it through," Miller commanded, striding toward the central holographic display that dominated the command center. The air shimmered as the projection materialized, revealing the concerned face of Captain Marcus Rodriguez, commander of Horizon 2. "Admiral, we've lost contact with the observation ship Vigilant on the Alliance border," Rodriguez reported, his usually steady voice carrying an undertone of urgency. Their last transmission included fragmented sensor data suggesting massive energy signatures consistent with Confederation technology. Miller felt the familiar weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. The Galactic Council had been defeated, their oppressive regime dismantled, but whispers of extremist factions had persisted. Intelligence reports had mentioned a group calling themselves the Hand of Order, remnants of the old guard who refused to accept the new galactic paradigm. "Show me the data," Miller ordered. The holographic display shifted, presenting a three-dimensional map of the border region. Red indicators marked the last known position of the Vigilant, surrounded by energy readings that made Miller's blood run cold. The signatures were unlike anything from the war, yet hauntingly familiar in their destructive potential. These readings... Dr. Lisa Peterson, the Alliance's chief scientist, entered the command center, her eyes fixed on the display. "They're not just Confederation technology. There's something else integrated into the patterns, something ancient." Miller studied the data, his tactical mind racing through possibilities. During the war, rumors had circulated about the Archivists, an ancient civilization whose technology had supposedly been discovered by the Confederation. Most had dismissed these tales as propaganda, but the evidence before them suggested otherwise. "Play the final transmission from the Vigilant," Miller instructed. The command center fell silent as static filled the air, followed by the desperate voice of the ship's captain. "Central Command, this is Vigilant. We're under attack by unknown vessels bearing Confederation markings. Their weapons, God help us, their weapons are like nothing we've seen. They're not here to negotiate. They're here to annihilate." The transmission cut off abruptly, leaving only the echo of those final words hanging in the air. Miller clenched his jaw, the weight of decision pressing down upon him. Should he warn the entire galaxy and risk causing panic, or maintain silence while preparing humanity's defenses? "Get me Admiral Davies," Miller commanded. Sam Davies, once a brilliant tactician during the war, now served as the Alliance's strategic defense coordinator. If anyone could help formulate a response to this new threat, it would be him. Within minutes, Davies' hologram materialized beside the tactical display. Years of peace hadn't softened his sharp features or dimmed the intensity in his eyes. "John, I've seen the data. This isn't a random attack. It's a probe, testing our response times and capabilities." "The Hand of Order?" Miller asked, though he already suspected the answer. Davies nodded grimly. "Intelligence suggests they've been gathering strength in the outer systems, recruiting disillusioned elements from the old Confederation. But this technology..." He gestured to the energy signatures, This changes everything. Lisa Peterson stepped forward, her scientific mind already working through the implications. If they've truly integrated archivist technology with Confederation systems, we're facing weapons that could theoretically manipulate space-time itself. The theoretical papers I've studied suggest the archivists had mastered quantum entanglement on a macro scale. Miller absorbed this information, his mind already formulating strategies. The peace they had fought for, the freedom they had won, all of it hung in the balance. He couldn't afford to make the wrong decision. Initiate Protocol Phoenix, Miller decided. Quietly, I want all defensive systems brought to full readiness without triggering public alarm. Sam, I need you to coordinate with our allied fleets. If the Hand of Order wants to test our resolve, we'll show them exactly what humanity is capable of. Over the following days, a subtle transformation swept through the Alliance's military infrastructure. Ships that had been on peaceful patrols found themselves rerouted to strategic positions. Weapon systems that had gathered dust were brought online and upgraded with the latest defensive technologies. All of this occurred beneath a veneer of normalcy, the civilian population unaware of the storm gathering on the horizon. Lisa Peterson worked tirelessly in her laboratory, analyzing the energy signatures captured by the Vigilant's final transmission. Her team of scientists, the brightest minds from across the Alliance, collaborated around the clock to understand the nature of the threat they faced. Admiral, you need to see this. Lisa called Miller to her lab on the 5th day after the Vigilant's destruction. Her usually composed demeanor showed cracks of both excitement and concern. Miller entered the sterile environment of the research facility, where holographic displays filled the air with complex equations and energy patterns. What have you found? The weapon signature isn't just a combination of Confederation and Archivist technology, Lisa explained, manipulating the holographic data with practiced gestures. It's a fusion at the quantum level. They've somehow managed to merge two incompatible technological paradigms into something entirely new. She brought up a simulation showing the theoretical effects of such weapons. If our calculations are correct, these weapons could create localized tears in space-time, essentially erasing matter from existence. But there's a weakness. Miller's attention sharpened. Go on. The fusion process requires massive amounts of energy to maintain stability. If we could disrupt the quantum harmonics with a precisely calibrated electromagnetic pulse, we might be able to destabilize their weapons systems entirely. Can you build such a device? Miller asked. Lisa's eyes gleamed with determination. Give me a week and the full resources of the research division. We'll not only build it, we'll integrate it into our fleet's defensive systems. As Lisa and her team worked on their countermeasure, reports began filtering in from the frontier worlds. Ships bearing the Hand of Order's insignia had been spotted conducting reconnaissance missions, always staying just outside of engagement range. It was clear they were preparing for something significant. Then came the message that changed everything. Admiral, we're receiving a broadband transmission on all frequencies, Lieutenant Chin reported. It's from the Hand of Order. Miller straightened in his command chair. Put it through. The holographic display flickered to life, revealing a figure shrouded in the ceremonial robes of the old Confederation hierarchy. The face was hidden beneath a hood, but the voice that emerged was cold and filled with conviction. Citizens of the so-called Free Alliance, the figure intoned, you have perverted the natural order of the galaxy. You have torn down the structures that maintain peace and stability for millennia. We, the Hand of Order, hereby issue this ultimatum. Surrender your weapons, dissolve your alliance, and submit to proper authority. You have 72 hours to comply. Failure to do so will result in the complete annihilation of Earth as an example to all who would defy the natural order. The transmission ended as abruptly as it had begun, leaving a heavy silence in its wake. Miller stood slowly, his expression unreadable as he processed the threat. Around him, the command staff waited for his response. Open a channel, Miller ordered. All frequencies. I want every being in this galaxy to hear what I'm about to say. Chen's fingers flew over a console. Channel open, Admiral, you're broadcasting to the entire galaxy. Miller stepped forward, his bearing that of a man who had faced death countless times and emerged victorious. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of humanity's collective will. This is Grand Admiral John Miller of Earth, speaking on behalf of the Galactic Free Alliance. To the extremists who call themselves the Hand of Order, and to any who would threaten the freedom we have fought and died to achieve, I have but one message. We do not kneel. We do not surrender. We do not compromise with those who would enslave others. He paused, letting his words sink in across the vast distances of space. You speak of natural order, but there is nothing natural about oppression. You threaten annihilation, but you have forgotten the lesson of the Galactic Liberation War. Humanity may be young among the stars, but we have something you lack, the unbreakable will to remain free. Miller's voice hardened, taking on an edge that sent chills through even his own crew. This is our final warning to you and any who would follow your path. Attack us again, and it is you who will face annihilation. We extend the hand of peace to all who would take it. But to those who choose war, we offer only defeat. You have 72 hours to reconsider your threats. Use them wisely. The transmission ended, and Miller turned to face his staff. Prepare for war, he said simply. And pray we don't have to use what we're preparing. The next 3 days passed in a blur of activity. Lisa Peterson's team completed their anti-weapon device, dubbed the Quantum Disruptor, and began integrating it into the fleet's defensive systems. Admiral Davies coordinated the positioning of Allied forces, creating overlapping fields of fire around Earth and other key worlds. The entire alliance mobilized with a unity of purpose that would have been impossible before the Galactic Liberation War. On the morning of the third day, as the Hand of Order's deadline approached, sensors detected massive energy signatures at the edge of the Sol system. The enemy had arrived. Multiple contacts, reported the tactical officer at Horizon 2. Counting 37 capital ships, over 200 support vessels. Energy signatures confirm archivist weapon integration. Miller stood on the bridge of the Invictus, humanity's flagship and a vessel that had become a symbol of their indomitable spirit. Around him, the combined fleets of the Alliance took up defensive positions. This wasn't just a battle for Earth. It was a battle for the very concept of freedom in the galaxy. All ships, this is Miller, he broadcast to the fleet. Today, we face those who would drag us back into darkness. They come with ancient weapons and old hatreds, but we stand with something more powerful, the united will of free beings. Remember what we fight for. Remember who we protect. And show them why freedom will always triumph over tyranny. The Hand of Order's fleet approached with ominous precision, their ships black against the stars like wounds in the fabric of space. As they crossed into engagement range, Miller gave the order that would echo through history. All ships engage. For Earth. For freedom. For the Alliance. The battle that followed would be remembered as one of the most decisive engagements in galactic history. The Hand of Order's ships unleashed their terrible weapons, creating ripples in space-time that threatened to tear reality apart. But Lisa Peterson's quantum disruptors proved their worth, countering the exotic weapons with precisely calibrated electromagnetic pulses. The Invictus led the charge, its upgraded weapon systems cutting through enemy formations with surgical precision. Miller commanded from the bridge, his tactical genius evident in every order, every maneuver. But this wasn't just a battle of ships and weapons. It was a clash of ideologies, a war between those who believed in freedom and those who clung to the old ways of control and domination. As the battle raged, something unexpected happened. Several ships from the Hand of Order's fleet began to break formation, their crews apparently experiencing doubts about their cause. The unity of the Alliance forces, their determination to protect rather than conquer, created cracks in the enemy's resolve. Admiral, we're receiving surrender signals from multiple enemy vessels, Chen reported, her voice filled with surprise. Miller nodded, unsurprised. Accept their surrender. Escort them to secured positions. We're not here to destroy. We're here to liberate. The tide of battle turned decisively when the enemy flagship, a massive dreadnought equipped with the most powerful archivist weapons, attempted to target Earth directly. The Invictus, supported by the entire home fleet, intercepted the vessel in engagement that would become legendary. All power to forward shields, Miller commanded as the two Titans closed in on each other. Target their weapon matrices with the quantum disruptors. Fire on my mark. The enemy dreadnought unleashed its primary weapon, a beam of twisted space-time that could have erased continents. But the Alliance's combined quantum disruptors created an interference field that destabilized the beam, causing it to dissipate harmlessly into space. Now, Miller shouted, "All weapons, fire!" The Invictus and its supporting ships unleashed a coordinated barrage that overwhelmed the dreadnought's defenses. The enemy vessel, its weapons systems failing and its shields collapsing, found itself surrounded and outmatched. "This is Grand Admiral Miller to the enemy flagship," Miller broadcast. "Your weapons have failed. Your fleet is breaking apart. Surrender now, and you will be treated with the dignity all sentient beings deserve. Continue fighting and face complete defeat. Choose wisely." For long moments, space itself seemed to hold its breath. Then, slowly, the enemy dreadnought powered down its weapons and transmitted surrender codes. Across the battlefield, the remaining Hand of Order ships followed suit, their crews recognizing the futility of their cause. In the aftermath of the battle, Miller stood once again before the galactic community, this time from the council chambers of the Alliance. The leaders of the Hand of Order had been captured, their plans exposed, and their support base crumbling. It was time to address the galaxy one more time. "Citizens of the Galactic Free Alliance," Miller began, his voice carrying across countless worlds. "Today we have proven that freedom is not merely an ideal, but a force more powerful than any weapon. Those who sought to return us to the darkness of oppression have been defeated, not through annihilation, but through the strength of our unity and the righteousness of our cause." He paused, looking directly into the cameras that would carry his image across space. "Let this be a lesson to any who would threaten peace in the future. We desire harmony among the stars. We seek cooperation and mutual respect among all species. But to those who would use force to impose their will on others, know this: we will defend our freedom with every resource at our disposal." Miller's expression softened slightly. "To those among the Hand of Order who have surrendered, we offer redemption, not revenge. You will face justice for your actions, but also the opportunity to help build a better galaxy. This is the way of the Alliance. This is the path of freedom." In the weeks that followed, the captured leaders of the Hand of Order were brought before Alliance tribunals. During interrogation, many revealed the depth of their miscalculation. One former commander, stripped of his ceremonial robes and facing the reality of his defeat, admitted, "We thought Earth would kneel as others had before. We thought your talk of freedom was mere words. We were wrong." Lisa Peterson, whose scientific breakthrough had been instrumental in the victory, reflected on the implications of their success. "We've done more than win a battle," she told Miller during a quiet moment in her laboratory. "We've shown that human ingenuity, combined with the strength of our alliances, can overcome any threat. We've become the guardians of hope in this galaxy." Miller nodded, but his expression remained thoughtful. "The price of freedom is eternal vigilance," he replied. "This victory doesn't mean we can relax our guard. If anything, it means we must be more committed than ever to protecting what we've built." As the news of the Alliance's victory spread throughout the galaxy, something remarkable happened. Worlds that had remained neutral during the conflict began requesting membership in the Alliance. Species that had lived under Confederation rule for millennia saw in humanity's example a path to their own liberation. The final scene of this chapter in galactic history took place at Horizon 2, where Miller stood with his senior staff, watching as a new fleet departed for unexplored regions of space. These ships bore the emblem of Earth alongside the symbols of dozens of other worlds, united in their mission of exploration and peaceful contact. "Where do we go from here?" asked Sam Davies, standing beside his old friend and commander. Miller smiled, a rare expression that transformed his battle-worn features. Forward, he replied. Always forward. We've shown the galaxy that freedom is worth fighting for. Now we must show them it's worth living for. Lisa Peterson joined them at the observation window. The ancient archivists left behind technology that could destroy worlds, she mused. But perhaps they also left behind knowledge that could unite them. Our research into their technology has opened new possibilities for peaceful applications. Then that's our next mission, Miller decided. To turn weapons into tools, fear into hope, and conflict into cooperation. The galaxy has seen our strength. Now let them see our wisdom. As the fleet disappeared into the darkness between stars, carrying with them humanity's message of freedom and dignity, Miller reflected on the journey that had brought them to this moment. Earth had risen from a backwater world to become the champion of galactic freedom, not through conquest, but through an unwavering commitment to the principle that all beings deserved to chart their own destiny. The threat of the Hand of Order had been neutralized, but Miller knew that challenges would always exist. There would always be those who sought power over others, who believe in control rather than cooperation. But humanity had proven something important. When free beings stood together, when they refused to bow to tyranny, they became an unstoppable force. We've given them our warning, Miller said quietly, his words meant for his companions, but carrying the weight of a promise to the entire galaxy. Attack again and face annihilation, but choose peace and find in us the staunchest allies and friends. The stars continued their eternal dance, witnesses to the rise of a new era in galactic history. And at the heart of it all stood Earth, no longer a forgotten world on the edge of space, but a beacon of hope for all who yearn to be free. In the years that would follow, historians would mark this moment as the true beginning of the galactic age of freedom. The battle against the Hand of Order wasn't just a military victory. It was the fulfillment of humanity's promise to the galaxy, that freedom, once tasted, would never again be surrendered. As Miller turned from the observation window, ready to face the challenges of building a lasting peace, he carried with him the knowledge that humanity had found its place among the stars. They were not conquerors or overlords, but guardians of the most precious gift any being could possess, the right to choose their own destiny. The galaxy had received Earth's message loud and clear. Attack again and be annihilated, but choose peace and find a partner in building a future where all beings could thrive in freedom and dignity. The story of Earth's warning to the galaxy would echo through the ages, a reminder that the price of freedom is eternal vigilance, but its rewards are beyond measure. And somewhere in the vast expanse of space, new worlds waited to hear humanity's message. We desire peace, but if threatened, we will fight, and we will win. Thus ended the threat of the Hand of Order, but began the true age of alliance, where Earth's example inspired countless worlds to believe that freedom wasn't just a dream, but a reality worth defending with every breath, every heartbeat, and every star that shined in the infinite night sky.